from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, board to reconvene. Welcome everyone to the 2 p.m. Kern County Board of Supervisors May 20th meeting. We will begin with roll call.
Supervisor Peters?
Here.
Supervisor Parlier?
Here.
Supervisor Flores?
Here.
Supervisor Couch?
Here.
Supervisor Perez?
Here, thank you. Now we'll have a report on actions taken in closed session. There are agendas at the back of the room if you'd wish to follow along.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members. This morning in closed session, you heard and considered items 42 through 48. There was no reportable action for any of the items except first, item number 44 was continued for a special meeting scheduled for Thursday, May 29th, 2025 at 2:15 p.m. And two, item 46, which was a report on the complaint filed by the California Department of Justice against the county in December of 2023. As you know, the parties reached a stipulated agreement, but the Superior Court retains jurisdiction. You heard a report about the county's progress and compliance with the terms of the stipulated agreement. The stipulated agreement requires the county to do certain things, such as provide annual training for 3 years to your board, county managers, and others on the topic of free speech, as well as nonprofit or 501c, other types of nonprofit organizations. The agreement also calls for a free speech expert to monitor and review the county's compliance with the provisions of the agreement and submit an annual report to the Department of Justice and the court. The free speech expert, Professor Barry McDonald with Pepperdine University, submitted his report with the finding that the county is in substantial compliance with the agreement. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that good news. Anybody want to comment on that? Okay. We're going to move right along then to our consent agenda. Consent matters are listed with a capital C, capital A, and they are considered by county family to be routine and non-controversial. But if a member of the public feels otherwise or wants to get some clarification or provide critique, now would be the time to do so. I'm going to read through the consent agenda, and then a member of the public can let us know if they'd like to speak or intervene. Consent matters begin on page 2, and they include item number 4, but I do need to read some corrected language, so I'm going to do that now in all caps. Open hearing, receive public comment, closed hearing per Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department. Recommendation, adopt resolution and the recommended findings approving non-summary vacation, accepting and reserving any easements for existing utilities. With that change, consent matters continue on page 3, and they include items 6 through 10. On page 4, consent matters are 12 through 18. On page 5, all items listed 19 through 23. And on page 6, all items 27 through 28. So are there any members of the public who would like to comment on consent as I just read it with the correction on 4? Okay, seeing none, colleagues? Comment or action? Gentlemen?
Motion on consent. Second.
We have a motion on consent and a second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you. We're going to move now to resolutions and proclamations. We did not have any this morning, and it's not every Tuesday that we have them in the afternoon, so they're usually quite special if we do them at 2 p.m. So Supervisor Peters, I understand your National Public Works Week in Kern County is up and it will be handled by yourself.
Thank you very much. I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm joined today by Public Works Director Josh Champlin for this special presentation. As we heard this morning, Public Works is actually celebrating its 10-year anniversary. And so it's very exciting, very appropriate time for this. I was looking at the information regarding this weekend, and this year's theme is People, Purpose, and Presence, which I think is really appropriate. As you can tell from the 2 or 3 people that are behind me, they have a lot of people in Public Works. They have an outstanding purpose. Too many things that Public Works does for me to try and list them all here, but they are involved in just about everything the county does. And presence, I don't think that there's a citizen in Kern County that isn't some way impacted or their lives are touched some way by the work that Public Works does. This is a really outstanding department, and it's really my honor to be down here this week to share this proclamation. The Board of Supervisors of the County of Kern, State of California, has officially proclaimed May 18th through the 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week in Kern County. And this recognition has been entered into the official board minutes and signed by our Honorable Chair Leticia Perez. And I will turn it over to Director Champlin.
All right. That's quite the showing there.
Yeah, we wanted to make a splash here. So.
And splash you have.
We're just informing Supervisor Peters that this might be a little long, but I'm going to do my best to keep this entertaining. But here we go. Madam Chair, members of the board, it's my pleasure today to come before you and accept this proclamation for National Public Works Week. So as Supervisor Peters said, this year's American Public Works Association slogan, People, Purpose, Presence. So I'm here to acknowledge all the people behind me, and I assure you this is a fraction of your Public Works staff who showed up today to be part of this process, to kind of see how this works, and I'm here to basically speak their praises. Kern County Public Works is the foundation of Kern's thriving communities and works in the background to advance the quality of life for all. Like Supervisor Peters explained, this is the 10-year anniversary for Public Works. 10 years ago, your board decided to merge 3 departments. That was Engineering Survey Services, Roads Department, and the Waste Divisions. And throughout that time, we have successfully integrated. The goal was to do several things, but one was to improve efficiencies for the departments, which I think we have done. We've combined our financials, our HR, and our overlap in our staffing has worked out very well. I think also that this formation has allowed for cross-training amongst engineers and the alike, and provided that more upward mobility in many different divisions within our department. We have the basic divisions listed up there: administration, development, transportation, capital projects, and solid waste. And I just want to touch quickly on each of those. So in the development division, which was born out of ESS, these are stats that I wanted to show. This is the last 10 years of numbers that we were able to gather. So the building inspection division has conducted over 420,000 inspections and issued over 96,000 permits over the last 10 years. Code compliance. So they've done 2,600 cases per year. So over 10 years, we're looking at 26,000 cases that resulted in abatement, demolition, and cleanup projects. The engineering division has reviewed over 195,000 plan checks. This is for new commercial, residential, and industrial development. The survey division exists to support many other divisions within, doing project staking, topographic surveys, and then Kern Sanitation Authority, which can be overlooked, but they manage 6 treatment plants, treating 5.2 million gallons of sewage each day, and providing service to 60,000 Kern County residents. Wow. Within that division, within the development division is also the county service areas. These are areas that pay for services on the tax roll, such as street sweeping, drainage, street lighting, and landscaping around your subdivisions. And so this is just kind of a snapshot of what we what we provide service-wise. This is a typical code enforcement. You know, we have illegal dumping on the left, and then we have, in concert with the building department, we provide for inspections of structures to make sure that the unassuming public and the homeowners are safe. Moving on to the transportation portion of our organization. Within the transportation division, we have Kern Transit. So Kern Transit is our bus network. We provide 12 fixed routes to 30 different communities with 100 trips per day for the buses. We also provide more local trips like on demand, so 230 curb-to-curb transportation rides every day. And so we've serviced 235,000 riders annually and 2.7 million over the last 10 years. We also provide through grant opportunities, which our staff will get into more, but we're very good at getting grants outside of our local funding, both state and federal grants, but these are just a couple examples of free student fares and free fares for all during certain months of the year. Also, the transportation division is responsible for your roads. We maintain over 3,300 miles of roadway, 325 street lights, 150 bridges, and 120 traffic signals. And we currently have more than $175 million worth of projects underway. Over the past 10 years, this one's a big one. So this, I alluded to earlier, our grants. We secure a tremendous amount of grant money above and beyond what we're entitled to from our state gas tax. We've secured over the last 10 years $90 million for sidewalks, bike paths, $77 million for dirt shoulders and dirt roads, $69 million for road repairs, $35 million for safety projects, $39 million for emergency flood projects, for a total of $310 million in grants over the last 10 years. Moving on to our capital projects division. This division of Public Works is responsible for the majority of the design and construction of roads and landfill projects. We currently have $230 million in projects underway, including sidewalks, road rehab, landfill modifications, sewer lines. And back when the Public Works was formed, we purchased a piece of property on Patton Road right off Rosedale Highway, and we've been developing that into a corporation yard. So I'm gonna go through a few of the more challenging and successful projects that Capitals has done over the last 10 years. We're very proud of this project. Bakersfield and Kern County have been in the news a lot for pedestrian safety, and so I just wanted to highlight that we are responsive and we are aware that we can improve pedestrian safety. This was a $5.5 million project that updated crosswalks throughout unincorporated Kern. $5.5 million is a lot to do that, but in that we've updated 85 crosswalks and we have upgraded numerous ramps to be disability accessible. This continental style striping is the new striping. It's been proven to be more visible to pedestrians crossing the street. We've had our environmental challenges. You probably know, working in the state of California, there's a lot of environmental challenges that are posed to us. Shocker. This was a project that we were proud of. This is a bike lane that takes you from the incorporated city of Bakersfield down to the Buena Vista Aquatic Center. And with the completion of this $4.5 million project, we were able to get bike connectivity from the Aquatic Center all the way to Lake Ming. So we go county, city, county, so you can ride your bike all the way. That's a pretty good bike ride. We also encounter other outside challenges, one being railroads. Railroads were there before roads oftentimes, and so we have to work through these challenges. In District 2, I think it was a couple years ago, we were able to accomplish an at-grade crossing for this community of Boron to make this more safe for the people living there. It's always our goal to separate the vehicle traffic from the rail, but it's not always possible. And so when we have to do this we make it as safe as possible. And then finally, drainage challenges. So everybody wants curb gutter sidewalk in their neighborhoods, and the one thing that's often forgotten is the drainage. Well, when we put the drainage into your gutters, it's got to end up somewhere. And so this is kind of the unseen expense, one of the unseen expenses. And so this is Rexland Acres. We've done many projects in Rexland Acres to improve this over the years, but this one particularly, this was over $6.8 million. And it highlights that during the COVID pandemic, our contractor never left the job. So we were able to do that. Includes 2 miles of storm drain, 4 miles of sidewalk and bike lane, 75 new traffic signs, 66 ADA ramps, and 18 crosswalks. And then more recently in District 1, this was, Supervisor Peters is very aware of this. This road went down, this is Sierra Way, it went down to the 2023 storms. And through a lot of work by staff and consultants, we've got this off the ground, and this will be an improvement that will be there for the next 50 years, and we won't have to hopefully worry about that connection. But you can see on that shortcut's a 78-mile detour that was encountered because of this road going down. And then we move on to solid waste division. So these are some big numbers because we manage 7 landfills and many transfer stations in the county, but these are big numbers. We received over 7 million customers. This is over the last 10 years. Processed over 10 million tons of material. We've diverted over 2 million, these are recyclables, and so I think this is something to be celebrated, is that that's 2 million tons of material that normally would have gone into the landfill that we're able to repurpose for other means. And we've processed over 5,000 tons of household hazardous waste, much of which is accomplished at our special waste facility here in town. Upcoming projects. So I'll show you a photo on the next slide, but we're very proud of the Shafter-Wasco compost facility. This is a state-of-the-art facility at the Shafter-Wasco landfill. And if any of you have the desire to go see it after I show you the photo, it is amazing. And it's one of the first in California, maybe the first. And so we're planning to process a lot of material here, and over the long run, this project is going to save the county millions of dollars on costs that we've incurred over the years. And then, as you are all aware, SB 1383 has been quite the challenge for us all. We spent a lot of grant money educating the public and helping them to navigate along with us, the ward and Public Works, to help our constituents find the solution that best fits our communities here in Kern County. Coming in 2026, we're going to break ground also on a new special waste facility off Downing here in Bakersfield. It's going to be a new facility that's going to be able to provide more level of service to the customers. This is a picture of the composting facility that I just spoke about. It's a very large facility, and like I said, if you want to get a tour, it's got state-of-the-art processes involved in it, enabling us to compost the material a lot faster than we used to, and we're going to produce a very high-quality material that's going to be available to the public and farmers alike. We also hold collection events. We have bulky waste collection events, household hazardous waste. These are events that go to the communities themselves rather than them coming to us, and so we provide that closer point of contact so that people have a better chance to get rid of these items. Here's some more numbers for you. So we've picked up, so since the board initiated illegal dumping and homeless encampment abatement, we've cleaned up 18,000 tons of illegal dumping. We've cleared over 2,500 encampments since 2018, and we have recycled 535,000 mattresses, which equates to over 29 million pounds over that time. Here's just some awards. I'm not going to mention them, and this is when I want to talk about the people behind me, because they don't come to work every day because of this. This is just validation of the good jobs that they do. I think I'm fair to speak for management in the county and the Public Works that the people behind me are the best asset that we have. I'm one person, but I can't do anything without all of them. And so I just wanted to say how much I appreciate them. You have to have a real servant's heart to do what these people do. You're not going to report to a landfill every day unless you are a servant. You're not going to get out on the road and fix a pothole. You're certainly not going to wake up at 2 a.m. getting called out to plow snow in the middle of the night if you're not there to serve the public. So that being said, that's the greatest asset we have, and I'm so appreciative of them. And being in this position really humbles me, because I know that no matter what I do, without them, it's not possible. So, thank you, guys. And that ends my remarks. I'm available for any questions you may have.
I'll tell you, the gravity of the the influence on your built environment here in Kern County is really significant. I've never seen a presentation like that. Josh, you really did your people justice today. That's obviously a really proud leader, and I appreciate your humility, because these folks really do the work day in and day out, and you do a great job of leading them and representing them. You have different roles, but that was really stunning. To think about what you're doing to improve the aesthetics, the beauty, the invitation to public spaces, what you're doing for families and community is absolutely priceless. And it's so obvious in these numbers and in the pictures. As really I said, 28 slides, that went by pretty quickly. The pictures were exciting and fun. You see life in them. I really thank you for this presentation. It's absolutely excellent. I see Supervisor Peters is punched in, as well as Supervisor Parlier. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend Director Champlin in particular. You've done an outstanding job as director of this department, and all of the Public Works team. I know you guys just show up and do the job, and it's on to the next part, but you don't get to see a lot of the impacts after the fact that it has on the community, and it really does play a bigger role than you know. In particular, the bridge at Sierra Way was mentioned, and that impacted a huge number of people in Lake Isabella, everything from their safety, if they had to evacuate from a fire, to just their daily commute into town. And the work that you guys do makes a huge difference, and the community really appreciates you. And the community really appreciates you.
Well said, Supervisor Peters. Thank you. Supervisor Parlier.
Thank you so much. So this morning, I had the privilege of going to the pancake breakfast and then serving this morning too, and I made some comments at the AM session too. But if you ask the average person in the county, okay, what's the most important department? Would it be fire? Would it be sheriff's department? Really, it's public works, because nothing happens without public works. People don't move, they can't get to work. Traffic could be, a mess. Code enforcement, snow plowing. I have 2 mountain communities. It's extremely important. So I just want to thank you for your service to this county and all the hard work you do. Thank you so much.
Well said, Supervisor. Supervisor Couch.
Real quick, I wanted to say that I wish we could do more for you guys, because you guys do an awful lot for people, and a lot of things that you do people don't even see, but they see the result of it. And I also want to commend Josh and let you guys know that the same guy that you saw there at the microphone is the same guy that we see every day. So he doesn't put on any airs, and he represents you all very well, and he thinks of you. He thinks of his department when he's speaking with us. So appreciate it, Josh. Thank you.
Well said, Supervisor. Supervisor Flores.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and thank you, Josh, for your leadership and your mention of servant leadership, which is one that you reflect. And I'm appreciative. You've done so much. You're a problem solver. Everyone here in the chamber, my total gratitude to you. I had a snapshot of a report from Kern app. The 60 cases in my district for the last 2 weeks, all of it is public works, every single one of them. And so you guys are on the front lines. You make a difference. You're moving the needle for good, for public benefit. We appreciate you. I know it's tough out there. There's tons of challenges, encampments and what have you, but you are doing the work, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
I often think my job as supervisor will come to an end, as it will for all of us up here. And someday you will leave the county and you'll retire and you'll move on. And the work that you have done, the physical work that you have done, will remain beyond your time, beyond my time here. What we have done for an unprecedented $50 million in parks on the east side and all throughout the community is absolutely transformative for the human beings we serve, for our neighbors, our community, and those are long-term investments. They go beyond you, they're beyond me, they're for the community, and long after, we're gone, That's part of our legacy. What you have done to build and rebuild and shape and make beautiful this space that is Kern County, that's our home, that we're raised in and that we've been entrusted with to make beautiful. So I want to thank you for what you've done for leave a long-term legacy in the built environment of Kern County and to make people's lives so pleasant and make it feel like we're in a first world and that we are part of the 4th largest economy of the world, leading the world. You know, that's not possible without the machinations that you make happen. So thank you. I tip my hat to you and really, really appreciate everything that you do. I hope you feel that from all of us today. And thank you, Josh, for this opportunity. Thank you. I don't know what happens when all you guys leave right now. We're going to have an empty chamber, Supervisor Couch. What do you think? Do you want a moment, Josh, to exit the room? Okay, that's probably a good idea. Let's take a couple minutes break because this is a big crowd. So just moving around will be noisy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Okay, great. We're back now. We took a short break so that all those public works folks could exit and bask in the glory of being recognized for all they do today, which is just wonderful. So public presentations is the next portion of our agenda, and this part of the agenda is reserved for members of the public to address this board and the members of the county family on matters that are within the jurisdiction of Kern County, but not on today's specific agenda, excuse me. So if that is what you'd like to do, now is the time to do so. Please come down, state your name for the record. And it's good to see you. Hello, Janine.
Back again. Janine
Hello.
Adams, Tehachapi. I do apologize. I look a little bit frazzled, got all black on. You might wonder why. Because I was at a funeral today, a funeral procession that went through Bakersfield, complete with a hearse and coffins, representing the number of people in Kern County that will likely die if we do not stop this current Republican administration from taking away Medicaid, which is Medi-Cal here in California. It's a very somber moment that our community can suffer this way. And again, I am asking each one of you here representing your individual communities, is this something that you are out advocating for? Are your staff out advocating so that this does not happen to our community? Community members are out there fighting for this, for our community. And I feel that each person on this board, when you have constituents that 50% of your constituents are covered by Medi-Cal or Medicaid, it is a travesty if you are not out with the community out asking that these cuts not be made and doing everything you can to not have that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Public presentations, are there any other speakers? Please come down, welcome, and please state your name for the record. Good afternoon.
Hi, Kern. I'm here as a former bargaining team member of the current SEIU 521 MOU that's currently in effect. Said MOU was brought to you by former Chief Human Resources Officer Devin Brown in December of 2021. His presentation included the class and comp language, which included 12 classifications that needed immediate review. 10 of those received their compensation. 2 admin coordinators and legal secretaries did not. The legal secretaries, because I was there, was due to the union's inappropriate actions and misinformation to the members that were doing that class and comp with an unrealistic proposal presented to the county of 3.5%. Admin coordinators were never addressed. They received the same compensation as the legal secretaries. Since then, though, admin coordinators have gone through a classification study where some admin coordinators reclassified to a different series. Now they are up for compensation. However, it's tied into the proposal that was presented to SEIU. I'm requesting that the board look at that proposal and go based off the current MOU and give the admin coordinators their due. Because in reality, they should have been taken care of at least in 2022. But because of the union's inappropriate comments and inactions and negligence, those employees do not need to suffer any longer. So I am requesting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bessard. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address the board at this time? If not, I'm going to close public presentations and ask my colleagues if you have any announcements or reports. Gentlemen, Supervisor Parlier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This weekend, Saturday, I had an opportunity to do a community cleanup in the lovely community of Roseman, and then went over to Tehachapi for their fishing derby. Unfortunately, I didn't catch the $2,000 fish that they had out there, but it was a wonderful event. And then off to Tehachapi Kiwanis for their youth expo. And it was just a wonderful weekend in the East Kern County and the desert communities. Thank you.
Well, how marvelous. What a nice report. Okay, we are going to move on in the agenda to page number 3, item number 5, which is a public hearing on proposed increase in assessments within County Service Area CSA number 56 for streetlight service charges fiscal year 25-26, Northwest Bakersfield area. Mr. Champlin, floor is yours.
Madam Chair, board members, I'm joined today by Adrian Nava, Assistant Director of Public Works, and he will be providing the presentation today.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Nava.
Good afternoon, members of the board. The item before you today is a proposed rate increase for County Service Area number 56 for streetlight services. We'll go over the Prop 218 process, the background, and why the need for this increase. This proposed rate increase is being conducted in accordance with the requirements of Proposition 218. It is important to note for the public and for the board that this Prop 218 process for streetlights is different from the sewer solid waste Prop 218 process that you may be more familiar with. This process does not involve written protests from property owners. Instead, it requires submission of ballots. For the rate increase to be approved, more than 50% of the submitted ballots must be marked yes. In other words, a simple majority of the ballots received determines the outcome. Public Works mailed 51 ballots for CSA 56 to the affected property owners at least 45 days ahead of the public hearing. Each ballot included details about the proposed flat fee for streetlight services, instructions on how to vote, and the method on which the ballots may be returned, either mailed or delivered in person by today's public hearing. In addition to mailing the ballots, staff conducted in-person outreach, going door to door throughout the neighborhood to explain the process, answer questions, and provide information on the proposed increase. Staff also conducted public information meeting on May 7th, and none of the property owners showed up. CSA 56 is an unincorporated residential neighborhood made up of 51 single-family residences. It is located in the Rosedale area by Rosedale Highway and North Avenue. These homes receive street lighting services funded through an assessment collected via their annual tax bill. The current assessment is $38 per year per parcel. Within CSA 56, there are 14 streetlights currently in operation throughout the neighborhood. However, over the last decade, PG&E costs have increased significantly, and unfortunately, the current revenue that's collected from the assessment is no longer enough to cover these expenses. An increase in the assessment is necessary to maintain the current level of service to provide adequate safety for traffic and pedestrians in the community. This map shows the current boundaries of CSA 56. As you can see, it is located in the Rosedale area, the northwest corner of Rosedale Highway and North Avenue. It's 51 parcels with 14 streetlights serving the community. The area in yellow shows that the CSA falls within District 1. For CSA 56 in fiscal year 23-24, CSA 56 had a revenue of about $2,000. However, the total expenses came to about $2,500, with about $2,250 of that going to PG&E alone. That's around 90% of the costs are just pass-through costs to PG&E. This resulted in a budget shortfall of nearly $630. Currently, each parcel is assessed $38 per year. And per the engineer's report, staff is proposing a new rate of $73 per year, an increase of $33 annually, or about $3 per month. This small adjustment will allow CSA 56 to keep up with the rising energy cost and continue providing reliable street lighting service throughout the neighborhood. With the increase, CSA 56 would generate an estimated $1,785 more each year, helping close the budget gap and avoid any disruption to service. That concludes my presentation. At this time, it would be appropriate to open the public hearing. We're available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much. It's a very user-friendly presentation. I could understand it. It's very user-friendly. Thank you. This is the time and place for the public hearing and to tabulate the ballots considering an increase in the assessment for CSA number 56 for fiscal year 2025-2026. Before I open the public hearing for public comment, are there any comments or questions from the board to staff? Okay. I will now open the public hearing and ask if there are any public comments on this matter. If so, now's the time to bring ballots. If there's any members of the public who have ballots, now is the time to deliver them to the clerk. Madam Clerk, have you received any ballots that need to be considered?
No, we have not received any ballots that need to be considered.
Okay. Seeing none, there are no further public comments. We're going to close the public hearing and return to staff.
Out of the 51 ballots mailed out, the department received a total of 14 ballots, 9 in favor and 5 were opposed. The majority of ballots returned were in favor of the increase. Therefore, I recommend that you act on the following staff's recommendation. Confirm the majority of ballots submitted are in favor of the increased assessment with adjustment formula, waive reading, and enact ordinance imposing the proposed increased assessment.
Okay. Gentlemen, a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work on that matter. Our last agenda item of the afternoon is under our CAO's office, or the department of the CAO, and it is a request of Legislative Program Committee to consider state and federal legislation regarding elections.
Madam Chair, thank you. This item was heard by the Legislative Program Committee, refined some, and brought back now to your board with some action. I did want to note that we do have the Auditor, Controller, County Clerk, Registrar of Voters here today to answer questions should they arise. And now I will turn it over to Thomas Brown of my office for the presentation.
Okay, hello, Mr. Brown. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. The item before you is a request of the Legislative Program Committee, or LPC, to consider state and federal legislation regarding elections. On January 28th, 2025, your board received a report regarding items related to local elections, including the option of separating the registrar of voter position from the Auditor Controller's office. As part of that report, consideration of changes in election law at the state and federal level through the legislative process were referred to the LPC for further evaluation. At the April LPC meeting, members moved to bring back a package of bills aimed at addressing some of the elections items for the full board to consider. As part of today's presentation, your board is being asked to consider elections-related legislation introduced by Congress and the state legislature, as well as a potential amendment to the county's legislative platform regarding election matters. To reiterate, your board has already taken proactive steps through the legislative process to create a standalone ROV in Kern. At the direction of your board, the county's state lobbyist advanced an amendment to Government Code Section 26802.5, which is currently moving through the legislative process via the Local Government Omnibus Act of 2025, also known as Senate Bill 858. If enacted, SB 858 will allow the board to implement governance changes, improve operational efficiencies and oversight in the elections department, and provide enhanced accountability to the public. A dedicated ROV would be well positioned to identify and recommend future legislative fixes the county may wish to sponsor. I'm happy to report that as of today, the bill has advanced out of the Senate and is now waiting to be assigned to committee in the Assembly. Moving on to item number 1 and citizenship verification. Recent public discourse regarding voter registration, verification, and election integrity has sparked both national debate and local concern. Current California law prohibits local governments from enacting or enforcing any ordinance requiring a person to present identification for the purpose of voting. Several bills introduced in the legislature would have repealed this prohibition and authorized or required citizenship verification at the time of registration and voting. However, since the April LPC meeting, those bills have failed to advance out of their respective committees and are, for all intents and purposes, dead. AB 25, the California Voter ID and Election Integrity Act of 2025, would have required individuals to provide documentation of citizenship with their voter registration. It would have also directed county elections officials to verify citizenship for existing registrants. SB 405 would have required ID for in-person voting and ballot submission, and AB 1077 proposed limiting DMV participation in voter registration by prohibiting registration prompts for individuals presenting documentation indicating non-citizenship. To be abundantly clear, there is no action for your board to take today regarding these state measures. Since the items were considered by the LPC and to uphold the integrity of your board's referral in January, these items were included today for full transparency and so that the public understands the road to citizenship verification and voter ID requirements in California is not one that will be easily traversed in the state legislature. On the federal side of the equation, there are several bills that have been introduced to address concerns over citizenship verification and voter registration in federal elections. H.R. 22, authored by Congressman Chip Roy from Texas, was introduced in January 2025 and is titled as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act. It would require documentary proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. S-128, authored by Senator Mike Lee from Utah, was also introduced in January 2025 and is essentially the same bill as H.R. 22, and had also been titled as the SAVE Act. The bill would require individuals to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. As of today, H.R. 22 has advanced out of the House and was received in the Senate. S-128, on the other hand, has been referred to the Senate Committee on Rules and Administration and has not yet advanced out of the Senate. In March 2025, President Trump issued Executive Order 14248 titled Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections. The executive order borrows heavily from the SAVE Act and would require proof of citizenship for federal voter registration, disallow mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day but arriving after the election, and direct federal agencies to review state voter rolls. The executive order has been challenged in court by 19 states, including California. H.R. 2499, authored by Congressman Abraham Hamadov from Arizona, was introduced at the end of March and would essentially codify the changes outlined in the President's executive order. As of today, H.R. 2499 has not advanced out of the House. Conversely, S. 1240, authored by Senator Alex Padilla from California, was introduced in April 2025 and is titled the Defending America's Future Elections Act. It seeks to overturn Executive Order 14248 and prohibit federal agencies, including the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, from accessing or analyzing state-level voter registration data. As of today, S. 1240 has not advanced out of the Senate. The action for your board to consider today is whether you would like to take a formal position on any of these bills or simply monitor their progress. Moving on to item number 2, and improving voter signature quality. The current law under Elections Code Section 3019 limits signature verification for vote-by-mail ballots to specific documents, such as affidavits of registration or forms issued by elections officials. Some counties report difficulty using DMV-generated signatures, which may be too stylized or inconsistent for reliable vote-by-mail comparison. Assembly Bill 1116, authored by Assemblymember Mark Berman, would allow voters to upload digitized signatures via the Secretary of State's website and permit the elections officials to use these for vote-by-mail comparison, even if the person has not been issued a California driver's license or state identification card, but as long as the person provides the last 4 digits of their Social Security number with their affidavit. The state expects one-time costs of approximately $1 million to the State General Fund to modify the voter registration system and database that would enable digital signature uploads and necessary security upgrades. Since there is currently no option on the Secretary of State's website for the public to upload an item, the agency anticipates ongoing costs of an unknown amount for software and staff workload to validate signatures and screen for malicious files. The bill is currently in the Assembly Appropriations Committee and has been placed on the suspense file. All bills that have a fiscal impact, especially in times of fiscal austerity, are held on suspense unless there is sufficient justification by the author and proponents for the bill to advance. Bills that fail to advance off the suspense file are essentially dead. May 23rd is the last day for fiscal committees, such as the Appropriations Committee, to hear and report to the floor bills introduced in their House of Origin. Given the $12 billion deficit announced in the governor's recent May budget revision, the bill may have a difficult time advancing. The action for your board to consider today is whether you would like to take a formal position on this bill or simply monitor its progress. Moving on to item number 3, and additional county signature cards for verification. There are currently no state bills that have been introduced this year that would address this specific issue. However, in the next legislative cycle, your board could consider sponsoring state legislation that would authorize local elections offices to collect additional voter signature cards at the county level for expanded verification purposes. This scenario would require the county to pursue legislation to expand Elections Code Section 3019 and could strengthen vote-by-mail verification and support CARE efforts, but may require infrastructure and outreach, including provisions for in-person signature updates and identity verification. To be abundantly clear, there is no action for your board to take regarding this particular subject. The item is included today for full transparency, to be responsive to your board's referral back in January, and so that the public understands the next steps in the process. Moving on to item number 4, and alternative sources for voter signature and party selection. Currently, DMV records serve as the primary source for signature and party preference collection during voter registration. As highlighted under item number 2, AB 1116 would provide an alternative to the DMV records, serving as the primary source for signature verification. The bill does not, however, address party preference collection. If the bill were to advance, it could be a logical next step in the legislative process to follow up with another bill next year that would include party preference collection through the Secretary of State. Your board could consider sponsoring state legislation in the next legislative cycle that would achieve that desired change. Again, to be abundantly clear, there is no action for your board to take regarding this particular subject. The item is included today for full transparency, to be responsive to your board's referral, and so that the public understands next steps in the process. Moving on to item number 5, and voter roll accuracy and cleanup. There are currently no state bills that have been introduced this year that would address this specific issue. Elections Code Section 2205 through 2212 outlines when and how county officials can cancel voter registrations for individuals who have died, been incarcerated, or found mentally incompetent. The county registrar is required to cancel registrations of deceased individuals based on monthly reports, and notifications must be sent to voters prior to cancellation. Given the board's proactive steps to establish a standalone ROV in Kern, if that enabling legislation is enacted, it will allow your board to directly implement governance changes and improve operational efficiencies and oversight in the elections department. An appointed ROV will have an opportunity to thoroughly evaluate whether these procedures are being followed consistently and timely. Should delays in list maintenance be identified, the county ROV may consider proposing statutory timeframes for cancellation or additional coordination requirements among agencies. After a thorough analysis is completed, it may be necessary for your board to consider sponsoring state legislation in the next legislative cycle that would achieve desired changes or address shortcomings in current law. Again, just to be abundantly clear, there is no action for your board to take regarding this particular subject. The item is included today for full transparency, to be responsive to your board's referral, and so that the public understands the next steps in the process. Moving on to item number 6, and residency verification for candidates. There are currently no state bills that have been introduced this year that would address this specific issue. Under Elections Code Section 8028 and Section 8040, candidates declare residency and other qualifications under penalty of perjury when filing a declaration of candidacy. However, verification is not required at the time of filing. In the next legislative cycle, your board could consider sponsoring state legislation that would authorize local elections offices to verify residency documentation at the time of candidacy filing. If a standalone ROV is established in Kern, it would be appropriate for the new ROV to complete a thorough analysis of current departmental practices and make a recommendation to the board to pursue legislative changes in the future. Again, this is kind of being redundant, but to be abundantly clear, there's no action for your board to take today regarding this particular subject. The item is included today for transparency, to be responsive to the referral, and so the public understands the next steps in the process. Lastly, item number 7, in clarifying same-day registration messaging. There are currently no state bills that have been introduced this year that would address this specific issue. Elections Code Section 2170 through 2173 permits conditional voter registration, allowing eligible individuals to register and cast a provisional ballot within the 14 days preceding an election, including on election day. While this process is legally available, there may be some confusion due to public messaging, such as the Secretary of State's website, which identifies the registration deadline as 14 days before the election. In the next legislative cycle, your board may wish to explore whether clarification or adjustments to conditional voter registration communication or policy would be appropriate. In addition, local residents have requested that the county consider petitioning the governor, as San Joaquin County has, to eliminate same-day voter registration. Such a change would require legislative action, and a simple petition letter to the governor may not achieve the desired result. To be abundantly clear, there's no action for your board to take today regarding this item. It's done for transparency, to be responsive to the referral, and so that the public understands the next steps. Finally, your board may wish to consider an amendment to the county's legislative platform to include language regarding election-related legislation in general. The change would enhance the board's ability to act on current and future elections legislation and expedite the time it takes to move from review to advocacy in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. For your board's benefit, staff's proposed language is as follows. Quote, support comprehensive election integrity measures that enhance the accuracy, security, and accessibility of the voter registration and candidate qualification process. The action item for your board to consider today is whether you would like to formally amend the county's platform. So to sum up, what's being asked of your board today? Number 1, does your board wish to support, oppose, or monitor either HR 22, S128, HR 2499, S1240, or AB 1116? And number 2, does your board wish to make changes to the county's legislative platform regarding elections matters? This concludes staff's prepared comments. We're available for any questions you may have. The recommended action is for your board to discuss and provide direction.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for this absolutely excellent, comprehensive overview of the work that Supervisor Couch and I, and the staff, of course, mostly doing the real work, but Supervisor Couch and I engaged on together last year to have open, honest, civil discourse on issues that are of grave concern to many members of the public, some of whom have been coming here and passionately asking the county to take seriously their concerns about election integrity. I think the process has been holistically substantive, meaningful. I have learned so much. It's stunning what I have learned. And I think all the players involved and all the actors, starting with Supervisor Couch on down, have been good faith players in making substantive, meaningful change. I mean that. This is an absolutely excellent presentation. I'm not sure entirely where the conversation will go, but I think that we've set a nice record and we have set a nice tone in how we talk about otherwise complicated, difficult matters. We have to do this all the time, and this is demonstrating excellence in addressing these issues. I just want to say thank you for that. I don't see anybody punched in yet, but I would like to know if there are members of the public who would like to come forward, and please provide your input today. I see Janine has been patiently waiting. Please make your way down to the podium and state your name for the record, please, and give us your thoughts.
Janine Adams, Tehachapi. Again, thank you to Mr. Thomas Brown. That was an outstanding presentation, so comprehensive, so very balanced. So I very much appreciate that. There, you've asked, staff has asked for you to consider 2 things. One is if these various bills should be continued to be monitored, I guess, and the other one is to change the legislative platform. I would like to ask this board, possibly, I don't know when the survey is going to be finished, that was put out that I spoke about earlier for Measure K. But the survey asked a lot of interesting questions like, what is important to you on what's going on in the county? And I would ask this board to consider what the survey of your constituents say is important to them. Yes, there has been a very, how shall I say this, very concerted effort by between 10 and 16 residents of this county with regard to election integrity. I fully support election integrity. I think the amount of time that staff has spent, the money that this county has spent in this process is meaningful. This was not swept under the carpet, okay? But the question is, how many people in Kern County, possibly through this survey, possibly a different survey, really align with the type of information that has been given to this board over the last 2.5 years on a consistent and every single Tuesday that you meet, okay? I would like to ask, is this really something that our county truly aligns with, or is this a very small minority of determined and dedicated people are advocating for? I particularly am interested in this board continuing to follow S 1240 to push back against Executive Order 14248 because it would prohibit federal agencies, including the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, from accessing or analyzing state-level voter registration. DOGE has nothing to do with that. Those tech bros have nothing to do with our voter registration here in the state of California. And I'm so glad that Supervisor Couch has stated that we've done our own Doge here, Lean Six Sigma, okay? We don't need those Doge bros here. And thank you so much for allowing me to give my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Are there any other members of the public who would like to give some input? We'd like to hear from you. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Robert Hooks. Excuse me. The CAO's report is thoughtful and well-written, but has flaws. It says, respond to concerns voiced by residents. These residents are a handful of people making exaggerated and uninformed claims. There is no credible material evidence of election fraud. I realize that we have fallen into the mode where facts don't matter to some, while facts do matter to many. And what about the citizens' concerns with wasting our limited resources? You have acknowledged we have severe threats to our budget. In our last meeting, you promised to manage our dwindling resources by protecting core county services, prioritizing critical safety net programs, and minimizing the impact to county's workforce. I don't see how exaggerated voter fraud claims would make the list. I can guarantee you, if you asked your constituents where they'd like to spend our dwindling funds, baseless voter fraud would be just above adding "have a nice day" below stop signs. Please keep this in mind as you strive to enhance public trust. That said, it is a good idea to add this to the Standing Committee on Legislative Affairs so people like us can contribute to an informed decision more than 2 minutes at a time. But the meeting should probably be more than once every other month. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your input. Are there any other members of the public who would like to give their input on this matter? Okay. Seeing no more, I will close the public hearing. I'll return to my colleagues for, I see Supervisor Couch is punched in, and then Supervisor Peters.
So thank you for mentioning me and telling everyone what I said. Let me restate it and say it maybe better and clearer so you hear it from the horse's mouth. When I said we don't need Doge here, what I meant was we had already initiated an effort similar, in my view, to what that effort was all about. And to add to that, I don't think that is an effort that you do and then you are done with. I think that is an effort that you do on a continual basis. And so you can call it Doge, you can call it Lean Six Sigma, you can call it any number of things, but it's looking for ways to serve the public more effectively and, if possible, at an even cheaper cost. Now, that's why they come up with Doge or Lean Six Sigma, because it takes too long to say all that. That's what I meant, and I think a continual effort in that regard is a worthy goal and something that we should be striving for all the time. The question is, do we want to support, oppose, or monitor the 4 bills and
5.
I'm sorry, the 5 bills. I stand corrected.
No problem.
And do we want to consider the legislative platform agreement? I think we want to support, in my opinion, HR 22, S128, HR 2499. We want to oppose S1240 because we can't be for both of those. And we want to support we want to oppose AB 1116, I believe. Which one was that, Mr. Brown?
Signature. AB 1116.
Yeah, that one I think is fraught with problems.
That one gives alternatives to DMV records serving as primary source for signature verification.
That sounds like they're trying to fix something that is a problem, but the fix sounds maybe worse than the actual problem already is. And I think the change to the to the legislative platform is a good one, and I would support it. If anyone wants to improve upon it, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Okay, so this is tricky because there's 5 of us up here, 5 bills. We could ultimately come up with 25 different motions in theory. But I think the legislative committee considered these matters. And I would love to hear, from them about how do we try to encapsulate what is, I think, given 5 bills and 5 politicians, a little bit complicated. But I'm open and I want to hear from you. So Supervisor Peters, I think you're next.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to, well, first off, I'll ask if that was a motion by Supervisor Couch.
It can be, but I was just going to state my preferences. Thank you. Well,
and I also appreciated the comments about government efficiency. I know we talked about that in our recent meeting and looking at potentially having our finance committee meet to consider having a third party come in and look at our budget and possibly perform some kind of in-depth analysis of where we might be able to improve on some of our efficiencies. So I look forward to hearing about that. I appreciate our speakers today coming and sharing their thoughts. I wouldn't say that this is a small group of concerned citizens. I'd say you're hearing from the most vocal group of those citizens. I hear from a significant number of citizens in my district on a very continual basis about their concerns. I'm not going to go into any claims about election fraud or anything like that, but this is just considering citizenship verification and the stance that our legislative policy platform takes with regards to efforts to strengthen and secure our elections. And I think anything that we could do in furtherance of those efforts would be a benefit to the county. So that being said, if Supervisor Couch, if that was a motion, I'd be happy to second. If not, I'm happy to make the motion as you stated in support of HR 22 S128, EO 14248, HR 2499, and the amendment to the policy platform and a position of opposition to S1240 and AB 1116.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Supervisor Flores, your thoughts?
Thank you.
You're off, I think.
So the motion, just to make sure we understand it, is yes to support HR 22, yes for Senate Bill 128, yes for HR 2499, no on S1240, and no on 1116. That's the motion.
Yes.
And a position of support for EO 14248.
So yeah, I'm in alignment with that, in agreement with that. I do want to comment on the revisions to the legislative platform, which I welcome that language. But since these things are very technical, and one person's electional integrity is another person's digression, and vice versa, I want to make sure that, and I believe in the amendment in updating the platform, but I want to make sure that bills of this subject matter are not an automatic pass and just sign up to something. I think that anything revolving these subjects should be really vetted by our elections department as well as our board before signing on to a blanket statement. Although I agree with this statement, you know where I'm going, that these are very contentious bills. Yeah. Just because it's in our legislative platform, which is not an automatic letter that goes out, it should be really scrutinized by our board to make sure we get it right. That's just my only comment on it. But I welcome the addition. Lastly, there's a lot of there's a big wish list at the end for prospective legislation. So I think it's best for, because there's comments made that we only have so much capacity and so much cost, and that's prudent. I think that if this bill is successful where we split our ROV, let that new person take a look at our department, see what's working, see what's not. Before we start asking for a wish list, we need to be streamlined, do it right, good government approach, and if something really needs fixing, they should come back with us to recommendations, and then we should, really huddle before we just have some shotgun approach on bills left and right that, quite frankly, will probably get sunk anyway if we don't do it right. That's my only comment. Thank you. But other than that, I'm in alignment with the motion that Supervisor Couch made.
Okay. Supervisor Parley, did you want to make comments or you just want to vote? Okay. So I want to explain myself because this is tricky and I have really not found myself in such a position before, but that's okay because we're working through this and we will be all right. I am absolutely, I've learned so much through the process of our own challenges within our elections division around the county, around the state and country. These challenges exist everywhere. I believe we should absolutely promote election integrity, and I am a good faith partner, I promise you, till the end. Because this particular motion incorporates so much, I think there's a lot there, and I appreciate and respect my colleagues entirely for their position and where they are. But I cannot support this motion today. I do believe it will pass, and we will have support from this body. And I do believe that is consistent with the will of this body and the majority will of what I've been hearing from the people for the last couple of years. But because I cannot sign on to it entirely, I will refrain from supporting that motion today. But I want to say again, I remain committed to this effort, and I want to move forward in transparency. I've supported the separation of those offices, streamlined approaches. There's a lot here that's very, very good. I don't want to get distracted by the politics of some of this that I don't think is significant. So without any other comment, I would call for a vote. I want to thank my colleagues, in particular Supervisor Couch, who I think has been a gentleman, a genius gentleman on this journey. And I think we're at a good place and will continue to be.
Gentleman.
I'm good, huh?
That's
not too bad. Not too bad.
Double G.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. I am so sorry that I missed you. Please forgive me.
I was sitting back in the shadows there. I feel like it would be remiss of me just to remind your board, one, moving forward, I've talked to you three here, in districts 1, 3, and 4 so far. It is really important to make sure, in my opinion, that you're going to the experts. I know you have the Election Integrity Committee, and the information that you're getting and relying upon, I'm hoping is coming from staff, because there are a lot of misconceptions that are brought before your board week after week. And I just want to make sure that we're all working together to make sure that we are doing what's best for the voters and the citizens of Kern County, because I know that is at the top of all of our lists, and that's what we're all working towards. Another item is, I do want to mention that supporting the executive order, while there's no disagreement among election officials in California that citizens should be the ones voting, there is logistical issues in confirming citizenship, getting that information, and it's more than just what we have to prepare for here in Kern County. It's also considering the federal government, the state government, are they all ready for a rush on passports, for example? People who are born in different states, people rushing to get their birth certificates, and it is very limited and very specific on the types of proof you need to prove that you're a citizen. So again, not saying that only citizens should vote, because I believe that completely a zillion %, but just some other things to take into consideration. And then even if folks are getting those documents, the elections office, and it will be once someone is appointed by your board, it's going to be a huge effort. Folks coming in to provide those documents, staff who are trained to review those documents, and to confirm that what someone is providing is actually a legitimate document. So just want to throw that out there. And I do have some rough numbers that I'm working on to just kind of give you an idea, very rough estimate, but I will bring that back to your board at a later time, just so you kind of have an idea of the potential lift and some of those items that I'm looking at that I would consider if this were still going to be under me. So I just wanted to make sure that I made you all aware of that, and the public, before you go into your vote. So.
Okay. Amy, thank you so much. Thank you for all your help and partnership along this way, too. I mean, these issues are not going to go away. We're going to continue to address them in a civil and respectable fashion. I have full faith in that. So I think we have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. Excuse me, Supervisor Couch.
May I wanted to, Supervisor Flores said something that made me realize something, and then Amy said something. I think I'm not alone in this. I'm not relying on public comments when I'm deciding which of these to support and which not. I'm I'm relying on my reading of these bills and the analysis of the bills. Also, just as a technical matter, we're not really supporting the executive order, but we are supporting HR 2499, which puts into law the executive order, I guess, is the best way of saying it.
Codifies it.
Codifies that. Supervisor Flores weighed in about, or spoke about allowing the board to weigh in, especially on these particular issues. And so I wanted to turn to, I've had this conversation about this process that we have here, and it was a good kind of refresher for me. So could you go through that?
Sure, Supervisor Couch through the chair. So for position letters, there's different avenues. Your board has a legislative platform that is a general guide, essentially, in various areas that allows us to streamline position letters where it makes sense. If we're aware of controversy or issues, as, for example, Supervisor Flores indicated, really from our perspective now, all election items would need to come through the full board, then any position would be brought before the board. As your board will be bringing forward some policy in a bulletin likely that helps identify how that process would work going forward, because I think there is some confusion on who do you ask and when, and we want to make sure that that's easier for the board to understand. But typically, if we're aware of something that it may be controversial and the platform isn't specifically identifying that specific item, then we would typically bring it to your board. And I would say maybe 95%, if not more, of the letters that get issued through the legislative platform are pretty clear and fall under theirs, but there's always at least a few each year that would warrant coming to the full board for sure.
But in a nutshell, what I want to sort of underline is if there's legislation and Mr. Brown writes a letter because it falls under our legislative platform to support it, oppose it, whatever, we see a draft of that letter. And if any one of us has any issue with it, it's time for us to speak up and say, basically notify you or Thomas and say, I got an issue with this. I'd rather this come to the board so we can talk about it there before we take a position. Yeah. Isn't that our...
Supervisor Couch, correct. Okay. Thank you for laying that all out. So in any letter, we asked for the chair to sign when it's coming from the Board of Supervisors, and all the board is copied on that for comment. So if we hear anything, and usually it takes a few days for that to process out, but yes, we do seek any concerns coming from the board members on those.
Thank you. And lastly, to address your concern, Chair, if you want to take these one at a time, I mean, I'm willing to do that, so you can weigh in individually if you like.
David, truthfully, I don't think that our letters are going to I don't think they're that profound. I don't mean to offend anybody, but the issue of requiring identification, I look at my district and my community, which is the poorest congressional district in the U.S. Above 250,000, the least literate in America for a city. When I could factor in those things, the thought of requiring a lice aid identification for every single person in my community to vote, that is such a profound practical problem, and at the same time I understand the spirit of it, David, and I respect it 100%, and I 100% I think our citizenship should be something that is utterly guarded, protected. Citizenship is precious. It should be hard to acquire. It is absolutely everything, but in my experience of 20 years doing elections work in Kern County and around the state and around the country, I have personally not seen that as a problem that would warrant me saying I need to see an identification from every single voter. And I understand I understand why that's problematic and why people feel the way they do. I do. And I think these are hard issues, but that just in general, that's something I just have a hard time with, David. So thank you. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the conversation. So here we are. We have a motion and a second. Let's cast our votes and get this over with.
Motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 opposed. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. This does bring us to the end of our afternoon agenda, thank God. And we'll be moving on now to adjournment. We will be returning, I believe, June 3rd. Is that correct? No. What's next, Kathy? Oh, that's right, on Thursday. That's right. Would you help me, Kathy?
Absolutely. So your board has called a special closed session meeting to be held on Thursday, May 29th, I believe, at 2:15 p.m. You're continuing the Director of Airports recruitment.
What she said. And then our next regular session, June 3rd at 9 a.m. Thank you, David. So moved. Adjourn.